Nearing 40 by Derek Walcott. The deeper meaning. The thoughts and feelings of the speaker in the poem are negative and full of pessimism. He believes that he has accomplished nothing in life and is very critical towards himself. There is lots of irony within the poem, as we see that the speaker is in fact full of talent and creativity, despite his thoughts otherwise. This clarifies the speaker's main message, which is that life is not as bad as it seems. So this is the first section of the poem. It's known as an epigraph, which the poet has dedicated to John Figueroa. The irregular combination of fanciful invention may delight a while by that novelty of which the common satiety of life sends us all in quest, but the pleasures of sudden wonder are soon exhausted, and the mind can only repose on the stability of truth. By Samuel Johnson. So the entire poem is only one stanza long. It's also just one sentence, but I've just divided it up into 3 sections to make it easier to analyze. Insomniac since 4, hearing this narrow, rigidly metered, early rising rain, recounting as its coolness numbs the marrow, that I am nearing 40, nearer the week, vision thickening to a frosted pain, nearer the day when I may judge my work by the bleak modesty of middle age, as a false dawn, fireless and average, which would be just because your life bled for the household truth, the style past metaphor. Okay, so the speaker is full of negative thoughts towards his future. However, it could be argued that this is simply because he is up at 4 a.m. and his mind is playing tricks on him. So this indicates to the readers that we should not necessarily be taking the speaker too seriously. And then we have the use of irony through the use of poetry terminology, as seen in rigidly metered and metaphor. He is complaining about not being creative, yet he is up in the middle of the night writing a poem. So again, that just shows how his pessimism is all in his head. The use of pathetic fallacy, when something which is seen through the reference to rain, aids in magnifying the speaker's current feeling of depression. The fact that it is raining could also be another explanation, aside from the fact that it's in the middle of the night, for his pessimism. The speaker believes that he can feel the rain's coolness numb the marrow. We get the sense that he feels as though the rain and the passing of time has put out any spark left inside of him and has left him feeling numb to his very core. The speaker's negativity is also seen as he associates age with fragility, as seen in the adjective weak. However, many would actually argue that age brings wisdom rather than weakness. So again, it's just showing how it's all in the speaker's mind. It's just him having negative thoughts on the future. No one else is thinking the same way that he is. So again, that just shows how things really aren't as bad as they seem. He is very critical of himself, and he calls his work fireless and average. And again, it is only the speaker who says these things about his work and about himself. No one else seems to agree with him. So again, this just shows that these negative thoughts are mostly in his head and adds to the sense of irony in the poem. We have a metaphor for cataracts when it says vision thickening to a frosted pane. So this just symbolizes how the speaker's world is narrowing, as he feels like he's becoming more enclosed by limits and boundaries. As I mentioned before, the entire poem is one sentence long, and this mirrors a stream of consciousness that flows from topic to topic and thought to thought. that finds its parallel, however wretched, in simple, shining lines, in pages stretched, plain as a bleaching bedsheet, under a guttering rainspout, glad for the sputter of occasional insight. You who foresaw ambition as a searing meteor will fumble a damp match and, smiling, settle for the dry wheezing of a dented kettle, for vision narrower than a Louvre's gap. Then, watching your leaves thin, recall how deep prodigious cynicism plants its seed. So, the reference to the plain household objects around him, pages, bedsheet, kettle, adds to the idea that the speaker's world is narrowing. He believes that the spark of youth has been put out. However, the fact that he has transformed these objects into poetry is quite ironic, as he is actually being creative despite the fact that he seems to think that he isn't. We also see this in the rhyme scheme: gutter, sputter, foresaw, meteor, settle, kettle. His subconscious is being creative. He is using rhyme and is most likely not even aware that he is doing it. And this once again adds to the irony in the poem. The dark cloud hovering over the speaker is most likely all in his head. The narrowing of the speaker's mind is seen in the reference to a damp match, which gives a weak flame. And this is also seen in the reference to Louvre, which is a window covered in narrow slats, which gives little light, also showing that his vision is becoming more limited. Although the speaker seems set on believing that this is very negative, we could see this as actually being slightly positive, as the narrowing of his vision could allow him to, in fact, see things with more clarity and focus his mind. And this indicates again that age does, in fact, bring wisdom, despite what the speaker seems to think. He watches as his leaves thin. This places him in a passive position, as though the decrease in his creativity and in the number of pages in his notebook is something inevitable. He seems to believe that he is not in control of his situation, and this is quite a depressive way of thinking. We see self-doubt in the speaker as he says that prodigious cynicism plants its seed. He is worried that the work he has dedicated his life to is only average and perhaps even worthless. So he employs a very critical tone towards himself here. The fact that this cynicism has planted like a seed suggests that it is ingrained within him, and this again presents us with his pessimistic state of mind. He seems to have no aspiration towards the future due to his lack of what he seems to think his lack of talent and creativity. And this is ironic because he is in fact displaying great creativity in this poem alone. Gorges are seasons by this year's end rain, which, as greenhorns at school, we'd call conventional for convectional, or you will rise and set your lines to work with sadder joy but steadier elation, until the night when you can really sleep, measuring how imagination ebbs, conventional as any water clerk who weighs the force of lightly falling rain, which, as the new moon moves it, does its work even when it seems to weep. So we have nature imagery in rain, water, moon, which shows that his creativity is ongoing. It is not a straight line, but a curve with highs and lows. Although the speaker believes that he is becoming more enclosed by boundaries and limits, the reference to water cycles counteracts this argument, as it is indicated that his current state of pessimism towards his writing is only temporary. The sun will come out and the rain will rise up again. The water will rise up again. So this mirrors his creativity. We also have the use of oxymoron, sadder joy, steadier elation, which shows the contradiction that age has brought to the speaker. Even though age has dimmed his passion, it has sharpened his creativity. Although the speaker doesn't see this, the readers do. The end of the poem is quite positive. The verb seems shows displays us with the overall message, which is that not everything is as bad as it looks. His negativity is not concrete, and his thoughts on his work, lacking creativity, are all in his head, and it's not all set in stone. Okay, so topic areas for an essay on this poem. The first topic area, I would focus on the fact that the speaker believes he is becoming dull, middle-aged, and lacking in talent. For the second topic area, the reference to water shows cycles, and perhaps nearing 40 is not as bad as it seems. And then I'd focus on the overall irony of the poem, we see this in the contrast to the speaker's pessimism and negativity with the creative and positive outcome that is the poem. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching.